welcome to the Prophecy Club. Yes, I know there's lots of things going on in the world with Syria, and I talked about that, and I may interrupt this series that actually we've already started, talking about the Ark of the Covenant, and also other discoveries that Ron Wyatt have made. Now, let me explain why I'm about to do what I'm going to do. I have never played the audio of this DVD on the radio before. And the reason is because, frankly, it doesn't exactly play that good on radio because, you know, if you can't look at something and you're hearing someone try to describe it, it might not make that much sense. On the other hand, I don't think that this DVD, or now it's a DVD, it was originally shot in VHS, has got enough people getting it. In other words, I tried to tell you how good it is, but I don't think you really understand, so I'm going to actually play the audio. Now, let me explain what it is, because I think once you hear the audio, you're going to say, oh my goodness, you're right, I need to see this video. All right, so here's the situation. Spring 1991, by the hand of God. I did talk about that a little bit, but I think this has to do with winning a lot of souls. The reason God sent Leslie and I on this 2-week tour. Spring 1991, Leslie and I went on a 2-week tour with Ron Wyatt. And every time he talked, I had this video running. And unfortunately, it is 1991, so you can hear the motor running of the VHS in the background. And, you know, it wasn't all that great quality compared to the fancy electronics we have in the cameras today, 4 chips and the like. But for 1991, this was pretty good video. I mean, I used metal tape, the very best tape I could get, and it was a brand new VHS, and it was a top quality VHS. Again, I think it was all the hand of God. But I'm going to go ahead and play the audio, and this may stretch through several broadcasts, but I think once you get a taste of what is on this video, you're going to have it. And no, it's not professional, it's amateur, but it's me in 1991 when I had no idea I would ever be in the ministry. Prophecy Club didn't start till 1993. But I think once you hear what we are simply talking about, you're going to have this, what it's going to come to you on video because we've upgraded it from VHS up to DVD. Now, here's the deal. We're putting together, you're going to get 4 discs for a gift of $40. You're going to get this one that was shot in 1991, upgraded to DVD, called Archaeology Confirms the Bible. Another DVD that I did in 2012 called Noah's Ark Confirms the Bible. And it's explaining specifically in pictures, a lot of pictures, showing all about Noah's Ark, what I saw there. Then you're going to get 2 discs made by Michael Rood called End Times Archaeology. The second one is called The Dead Sea Scrolls. 4 discs, valued at $80 for a gift to the ministry of $40. Yeah, it's good for us, keeps us going, but I think you're going to really want to see this information. That's the reason I'm putting it out. I'm going to go ahead and put it on the air. So there's going to be some dead spots. There's going to be some spots where you just hear the motor of the VHS running. But if you'll be patient, if you'll trust me, if you'll place this order, if you'll get this, when you watch it, you will be very glad you have your own personal copy of it. Let's go listen to Ron Wyatt on the DVD that I personally made called Archaeology Confirms the Bible.
But again, if you look out over there, deep caverns have been run into those rocks. A lot of water's flowed there. And then it came down and hit here and went on out into the desert.
Are working on in trying to reproduce the things that are mentioned in the Bible is giantism in human beings, and of course, if there were giant men, it follows that there were giant animals, and vice versa. Now, in Australia, where Dr. Roberts comes from, they have found wombats that stand 8 feet at the shoulders. They're 8 feet tall. At the present time, they're about 18 to 24 inches tall. They have found orangutan skeletons that are 14 feet tall. And they have found giant sloths, giant cave bears, all kinds of giant animals. Now then, one thing is missing in all of this that they have found, and that's kangaroos. Nobody has ever found and identified a giant kangaroo, but yet they have found thousands of giant dinosaurs, Allosaurus, T-Rex, and all of these. Now, if you will look carefully at the skeletons of these dinosaurs, you'll find that they are identical to the skeleton of the kangaroo. They have the massive legs, thighs, strong tail, and all of that, and they have the small arms. Now, the conclusion that you cannot escape reaching is that either kangaroos are a post-flood creation, or their skeletons are out there among all of the other skeletons of the animals that died during the flood. So what we have here is a misidentification of these animals. It's quite simple in these bone deposits to, shall we say, choose to connect these bones in manners that they were never connected in a living animal. The two men that led out in finding dinosaurs for the Carnegie Museum of Natural History in Philadelphia, shall we say, they got a large bonus if they came up with some real spectacular animal. One of them took some extra bones that he had that he couldn't find the rest of the parts to. He took them over to his opponent or his competitor's area and kind of, buried them. And the guy found them, put them together, and named them something. I forget what it is. But later, the other fellow told him exactly where they came from, gave him photographs of the disarticulated bones, in other words, the loose bones. But that critter is still in the museum in Philadelphia, and it's still named and it's still spoken of as an actual animal. Now then, there have been few human giant skeletons found that have been identified as such. There's some. They have found molar teeth, human molar teeth that are 6 times larger than normal. And so anyway, one of the things we have been praying about and asking God to help us find is a giant human skeleton. Now, I know in this group here we have folks of different opinions, and I don't have any problem with that. I know this, that a lot of this stuff, including Noah's Ark, you can get to heaven without knowing anything about it at all. Okay? What we need to know is that we are under a death penalty because we are habitual sinners. But in the name of Christ and in His blood, we can go to the Father and ask for forgiveness and rehabilitation. And He will accomplish that for us. That gets you salvation. These other things, however, can be very effective in getting people's attention. There's over 5 billion people on planet Earth, and most have no idea of the plan of salvation, no idea of the true God, no idea of Christ. How on earth can these people be approached? How can you get their attention? How can you get them to listen? What do you say to them if you can get them to listen? Some things you can take a shot in the dark at, but somebody's eternal life you had better not take a shot in the dark at. Okay? So God has preserved the things that you're going to see many of on this trip to get the world's attention. In Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 19 through 21, He says that I will draw all of the Gentiles unto me. These are unbelievers. And He quotes them. He says, they will say, Surely our fathers inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit, and have made gods unto themselves that are not gods. It's going to take something pretty spectacular to get people to admit that. I mean, put yourself in these folks' place. We're very reluctant just to say, I'm wrong, I made a mistake. That doesn't come easy, but here these people are freely admitting that their parents had been deceived and had passed it on to them. So God is going to do something very spectacular, and we're told in the 2nd chapter of Joel that He'll pour out His Spirit without measure up on all flesh. Now, Peter said that this thing that was spoken of by Joel is fulfilled today. However, the Holy Spirit was poured out on those that had been baptized and upon whom the apostles' hands were laid. In Joel it says, all flesh. We are coming upon a period of time when God's Holy Spirit is going to be poured out upon all flesh, just simply as it says. And everybody is going to be made aware of the truth. Now then, once that is done, it's up to those individuals. If they have habits in their lives, if they have projects, all these things that they are unwilling to let go and to love the truth when it comes along, then it says that God gives them over to the reprobate mind, who of course is Satan, and we're told that he will do signs and lying wonders, in so much that if it were possible he would deceive the very elect. So anyway, we're coming upon a very spectacular time in Earth's history. And folks, this whole experiment in sin is only going to happen one time in the history of the universe. It will never happen again. Nahum chapter 1 verse 9. Affliction shall not rise a second time. You and I are center stage in this experiment. And God is looking for people that will humbly and kindly share the truth with people that are lost. And I have said this a few times in my meetings, and I'll keep saying it, because we think we know God's truth doesn't make us any better than anybody else. As a matter of fact, it puts us under quite an obligation to share it with others. And again, we cannot share it carelessly. Only God knows who is ready to hear the truth, and only God knows what that person needs to hear. So, before we got you folks together, we prayed and asked God to have everybody on this trip that He wanted on this trip, and we asked Him to overrule in what was seen and what was said, so that everybody would get the full benefit of it. Now then, this is going to be very exciting. It's always exciting for me. When I think about these things, I get goose flesh, and tachycardia and all this stuff. It's very exciting. When all of this stuff hits the news, and it will, everybody is going to be looking for somebody that can tell them what is the significance of this, what's God trying to do. And they're going to come to you and ask you. But I want to make one point here, and that is, all of you that are parents, you would not send your child to somebody that you knew would deceive them. If you are willing to do that, then you're sick, desperately sick. God will not send an honest-hearted inquirer for His truth to somebody that is careless or indifferent as to how they answer these people's questions. He will send them to somebody that he can speak through to give these people what they know to be saved. So we need to lay our pride and a lot of times our preconceived ideas aside and let God work through us and in us to make us effective soul winners. So that is what this whole trip is all about. And every evening we'll take time to go over some subject. Tomorrow night we're going to talk about Noah's Ark. Dr. Roberts here is researching it. We have researched this. It's always good to have an honest second opinion. And Dr. Roberts is an honest individual. And shall we say, he has an excellent turn of phrase. The way he states these things gets the point across quite effectively, in my opinion, a lot better than I can. So I'm sure that he's a godsend to this. And tomorrow night, we'll give him a chance to share with you his research on this. And, of course, we will answer your questions on that. Okay, does anybody have any questions on these bones that you've seen? We found them in Nevada, in the USA. It makes it quite easy, or other than the distance factor, makes it quite easy to go dig them up and document them carefully, which is something that we have to do with everything that we do. Now, I will say that these bones are slightly atypical of what you see in human skeletons. But pre-flood human beings had a much higher nutrition level in their diet and this sort of thing. So it is not surprising that their bones were much more fully matured and developed than the ones we see today, several thousand years after creation and about 4,700 years after the flood. But anyway, we'll work on this. Some of the folks here, Dr. Neiswanger has volunteered to help, and some other folks. So God has things he wants done, and he will use anybody that volunteers to let God use you as he wants to. We can't just come and say, well, God, I'll be quite happy to do this for you, but I won't do anything else, and I'm going to do it my way. If that's the attitude we approach him with, he'll find somebody else that is of a different attitude. Any questions? Yes, sir.
What do you estimate the height of that person that had a finger bone that long?
Well, I took this to radiologists and orthopedic surgeons, and they said that it was either this thumb bone. Most of them thought it was the first joint of the first phalange here, or the thumb. Some of them thought it was the toe bone. But either way, it's a very large person. And their estimate is from 12 to 14 feet tall. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Herodotus' histories. In there, they found the tomb of one of the so-called heroes of the Trojan War, and he was 10 feet tall. In the Bible, Goliath is described as being approximately 12 feet tall. And Og, king of Bashan's bedstead was 15 feet long. Now, that implies that he was a very large man, and as a matter of fact, we know he was. Sometimes I tease about it and say he might have been a normal-sized fellow that just invented the first king-size bed. But I don't think that's the case. So anyway, there is documentation about giantism in the animal kingdom and in the human kingdom. But for some reason, very few human skeletal parts have been published. And I think a very, shall we say, honest explanation of that is that the universities, museums, and all of this that do most of the excavations are, shall we say, they want you to believe that man evolved from a little protozoa and all this sort of thing. Now, it says that the wisdom of man is foolishness with God. anybody that can honestly believe that as complicated an organism as human beings could evolve from anything, their brain hasn't evolved very far. And I say that in kindness, because they cannot possibly understand the complicated workings of one organ in the human body, or they would not be saying that, making that statement. So anyway, I am convinced that this is one of the things that God is going to present. We have a cave at En-Gedi in Israel and a permit to open it. And I believe that it's an Amorite giant burial cave. However, I'd much rather find the giant human skeleton in Nevada, get this thing done quick and easy, and then just go on to other things.
Can you tell us the circumstances under which you found this? And are there other bones of this size from?
Okay. She asked the circumstances. Now, I had some Australian friends that we met in Egypt. Very nice lads, 3 guys. They were in their 20s. And we met them in the Turkish Airlines office in Cairo. Fell into conversation with them. And, you know, you ask, what are you doing here? Only you do it politely, and they ask you, what are you doing here? So the net result was that they were on a year's holiday, which is a very popular concept after one gets out of school in Australia, and probably a good idea. And we were doing archaeological research, so we told them we were going out to Noah's Ark. Well, they had a good laugh about that, but they said we'd be glad to go help them. And I told them we'd pick up their expenses, and that made them gladder. So they said, you know, we don't believe any of this. Anyway, after we had gone out and showed them the things that you're going to see tomorrow, and they went with us to Israel after that, and we showed them some other things over there. As time progressed, their shall we say,
skepticism,
their conviction that none of this was true began to be shaken. And one day, while we were waiting on our permit to get back into the Ark of the Covenant excavation, now somebody had stolen an artifact, and everybody in the antiquities department got done something with. Most of them, when they wouldn't face the emotion, they just resigned or retired, or that sort of thing. So we were looking at all new faces in there, where we had been used to working with people we knew, and I had to go in and talk to a 3-star general about getting back into my excavation. And he says, well, we'll think about that and let you know. 3 weeks went by. Well, we went swimming down to the Mediterranean Sea. It was cold, and of course I have a little extra padding, so I didn't get cold as fast as these Australian lads. But they got out of the water, and I was starting to come in, hit my foot on something, and ducked under the water and looked down to see what it was, and it was a rounded stone. Well, I thought that was an unusual looking stone, so I started digging in the sand and uncovered a big stone pot. Well, I hollered at these fellows. They came back in, and we were all trying to uncover this pot. Finally, they kind of pushed me out of the way and said, old man, if you'll move out of the way, we'll get this thing uncovered. So I moved back into deeper water, and while they were digging and fighting with that sand, I found another pot. And I went over a few paces and found another. It turned out that there was just hundreds of those things out there in a stone pavement. Well, we pulled the top out of one of these, found human skeletal remains, found knives, beads, and other objects that were early Canaanite. Well, I photographed this. I had underwater cameras, got them developed, took them to the antiquities department. It blew their socks off. They went down, stretched ropes all around the beach area there, and they said they were going to put a, what do you call those deals? A wall, at least, a retainer wall out around this whole area. pump the water out and excavate it and restore it. They were thrilled to death. And I got my permit. So right about then, these Australian lads said, okay, we believe you now. We believe all of it. But we know how you did it. You just fell over. And that's about what has happened on all of this stuff, to be perfectly honest. But that's the way God does things. He does it in a manner that no human being can take credit for it. Because no human being is of the frame of mind to, shall we say, we all tend to get to over it.
I'm going to interrupt there, but I'm going to really, really encourage you to get this offer. Because, okay, here's the thing. When this stuff starts happening, when we really realize that we have entered the end times, now, some of us know it's pretty close, but when we're really there, this is going to be really important for you to have for your soul-winning activities that will be going on then. First DVD is the amateur DVD, actually it was VHS, turned into DVD, called Archaeology Confirms the Bible. I promise you, you will be impressed with it, even though it was made in 1991. Next one is me talking in 2012 explaining about Noah's Ark, called Noah's Ark Confirms the Bible. Third one is 2 DVDs made by Michael Rood, End Times Archaeology, and the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's 4 discs, gift of $40. I promise you, you will be very glad you get this offer. And as your soul-winning activities begin to increase, as the trouble increases, and apparently with all these wars appearing to be on the horizon now, that may be closer than further off. So it's important for you to get this information. It's called the Archaeology Gift Offer, available at prophecyclub.com, of course, or you can call us 785-266-1112. Archaeology Gift Offer, 785-266-1112, or prophecyclub.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your gifts of support. God bless. Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. The next speaker at the Prophecy Club is Brian Melvin. He was an atheist that drank contaminated water and died. He tells what it's like to die and stand before judgment, then be sent to hell with demons tormenting him. Worse than your worst nightmare. First talk is Hell in a Box. Topics: reliving my evil past, what it was like to die, first tricked inside a cell, tour of the pit, woman arriving in a cell, sex offenders in hell, rescue by Jesus. Then he was taken to heaven. Next talk is From Hell to Heaven. Topics: life after hell, the PSTD of hell, translated to heaven, match it with the Bible, Jesus the Son of Man, land of liquid love, field of reunion and reconciliation, know everything in heaven, the grand estates, the river of life, glowing for 3 days upon his return. That's Brian Melvin, Sunday morning, April 30th, at the Prophecy Club, 2540 K Avenue in Plano. Be seated at 8:30, speaking from 9 to noon. No charge. See you there. We have put the collection of the best of the 2016 DVDs together in an awesome gift offer. First, Miracles in Pakistan. Pastor Masih tells the story of 23,000 Muslims that he led to Jesus in Pakistan. Then in his DVD, Visits to Heaven and Hell, tells about going to heaven once and twice to hell, and it will scare. And then the third one is The Babylonians Are Coming, his 9 dreams that God gave him about judgment on America. Then Bree Keaton talks about explosive prayer strategies, emergency prayers that work. Finally includes Lindsey Williams' new DVD, Trump Speaks to the Elite, and how Trump changed things and the new plans of the elite. 5 DVDs valued at $168, all available now for a gift of just $75. Helps us stay on radio, okay? That's valued at $168, all for a gift of just $75. prophecyclub.com, 785-266-1112. prophecyclub.com or 785-266-1112. The best of 2016. Order now.